In your face, Neil Armstrong.
So we just got back from seeing The Martian, and yeah, they saw a different showing than we did.
Yeah.
And
I missed the beginning, the very beginning.
How was the 3D?
Really good. Very good 3D.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you did, yeah.
You guys didn't see it in 3D? You guys saw it in 2D?
Yeah.
I saw it in 3D. It was good, especially the parts where he was like filming himself. The 3D was really good there.
Yeah.
And some other stuff like the scene with the ship, the space station was kind of coming at the screen. That was a good scene.
Right. It wasn't too over in your face. It was more of like, you know, something you'd get used to pretty quickly.
Yeah, it wasn't like every 5 minutes. There's something going on.
Like extreme face close up.
At Matt Damon.
That would
Matt
happen
Damon
like
staring at you. 3D.
I can only think of like 2 times, and it was only in the beginning, like very early in the beginning, that I thought, wow, their faces are prominent. But other than that, it was never in your face. So
I really loved how they really explained in depth on how the science works. And the only thing that would make this movie better if it was like a true story.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. But I think also like 'cause this reminds me a lot of Interstellar with the whole they use kind of real science to kind of explain everything.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes
also
this a
Matt
little
Damon
better is
and Jessica Chastain. They're both.
The thing that I think that made this a little better than Interstellar was the characters felt more real. In Interstellar, everyone was kind of like this. Oh, we are going to space now. And, or like, let me talk about exposition for 20 minutes. I'm not saying I hate Interstellar. It was good filmmaking. But like character-wise, it was, I mean, except for the robots. The robots had a good personality like that. They were the ones, they were more alive than the actual human characters.
the irony.
But other than that, like I felt this was more like a human, definitely more human, and it was a survival story. When Interstellar was kind of had some survival moments, but for the most part was just an expedition space movie. But then again, you can't really compare them that much because Interstellar is it's supposed to be like a 2001 Space Odyssey sort of, and this is just like a survival except in space,
right?
Or on Mars.
Yes, see, that's the thing. Because reading the book, there is a lot more science stuff to it, and there's a lot of things that didn't make it into the movie that
you have to.
I know. Let me finish. But there's also the stuff that they added to it felt very much proper and fit very well in the movie. Also, I was saying to Alex earlier that the book, Andy Weir, I think it was, who wrote the book, he's very much. I did a whole bunch of research and it's super accurate. Look how good, like it is kind of showing off. Like there's a whole bunch of scientific stuff. It's like I did my research and it all works out. And with the pairing of Andy Weir and Ridley Scott, because in the book, Mars isn't really focused in that much as a big expansive place. It was the thing that was killing Mark Watney, and Mark Watney was trying to survive in the Martian, the movie. Ridley Scott, built that world, and it felt big. Mars was impressive in that.
Yeah.
You didn't get in the book, and if it was just The Martian, the book, the movie, it would not be that good of a movie. But with Ridley Scott and I think the writer was there present for most of it.
Drew Goddard,
who wrote Cabin in the Woods.
Right.
He also created the Daredevil Netflix series.
Okay.
So I would not have had that have had any other pairing for that movie. Is that they both had each of them had their own strengths, and working together, it worked very, very well.
Yeah, because I think it was mostly the writer. Like I think it was mostly Drew, because Ridley Scott's a good director, but lately he's been picking bad screenwriters. He picked a good screenwriter for this one. I think he kind of helped this, and Ridley Scott's direction was great, of course, because even in the movies where you can be like, oh well, that wasn't very good, you can still go, even though that wasn't very good, there's still some cool visuals. Like even Exodus, I know, the story was just, but some of the visuals in that movie were amazing.
You want to know what the irony is?
What?
Drew Goddard was actually originally set to direct this film as well. He turned down directing it so he could direct the Sinister Six movie.
Which doesn't seem to be going on.
And so and then that didn't happen, and so
yeah, that's why
Ridley Scott got to it.
That's why he left. That's why he left Daredevil as well. He was that's why he's not head writer. Stephen Knight took over, and now there's like some other head people who are taking over season 2. That's why like he because of Sinister Six, so he left all these stuff. Like it's just like I don't like Sinister Six is still happening, but it looks like it's kind of stuck in development.
Can we keep to the point?
Okay,
We seem to be sidetracking.
You're sidetracking.
We always sidetrack. So
not that much.
Yeah, all the time. We do.
So, actually. I don't know if I like this film as much as I think most people are, but I still did enjoy it.
Oh.
And I think I have 2 big problems with it. One is that it kind of felt a little too upbeat. I mean, I get that NASA is just kind of going along with Mark Watney's sense of humor, but it kind of took the thriller feel down.
Like, you mean
Michael Jackson's Thriller?
I mean, no.
It down.
Maybe that should have been included.
Do you mean it was? I don't get what you mean.
I don't know. It's
I didn't
just
feel it was that upbeat. Really,
it wasn't
like,
yeah.
hey, I'm gonna die.
Oh yeah.
I
mean,
party.
I mean, he is. I mean, Matt Damon's character. He is a great character.
Oh,
but
I loved his sense of humor.
Yeah,
like he's pointing the irony, the impossible irony of these situations.
Yeah. Then when something really backfires, he's just kind of like, okay, well, that just happened.
Because like another thing I really like too is that was Jeff Daniels' character. Like when I saw the trailer, I'm like, is he that guy? Like no matter when they have an idea, he's like, no, we must think of money.
Yeah, I was kind of afraid of that too.
Yeah.
But then when you see him, he's like, oh, okay. He did kind of have some moments where he was thinking about money.
Yeah.
But he still was like, we need to rescue him as fast as we can. He still cared. He wasn't just like, even though he had some moments where he was like, no, maybe we shouldn't do that. But then someone would convince him. He's like, he wouldn't be like, no money.
And also,
like big evil establishment.
Also, he shows his true nerd, like that quote about Glorfindel.
That was great.
Like very like when I say obscure, that is obscure reference.
Yeah. But
like that character wasn't even in the Lord of the Rings movie. He was only in the book, ever.
Because that's why like. I think the upbeat attitude for the most is fine because I'm pretty sure like they're just trying to get through this and like I think the upbeat stuff was more of just him trying and him and everyone else trying to get through this because it was a very tough moment. Yeah. So sometimes you use humor to kind of get through it instead of just being all sad all the time.
Yeah. And that's
humor can actually kind of lift it up and help.
You know, it does fit his character. It's you can. It offsets like the actual tension of being stranded on Mars to it because it's a pretty heavy thing. So the movie actually does do a very good job about counterbalancing that because I mean it's not without its tension moments and hard-filled moments, but it off balances
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your second problem? You had one problem, but then you your second.
Well, the other thing was that for the most part, up until the third act, the film is very well paced in the sense that you feel the length of all these events, and
he looks it too.
And so it keeps that pace up until like day 160 or whatever it was.
Are you talking about when he finally leaves the base?
Yeah, and then just suddenly after they decide to go back for him. It just like that. It skips forward like 300 days.
Let me tell you the reason for that.
It really lost that consistent pace. It was
only 7 months.
Kept it through
300 days is nearly a year.
Let me tell you the reason for that.
Yeah, I know, but
in the book, that makes up at least 5 chapters. Where his traveling, there's a whole bunch of other things. There's a whole bunch of other obstacles that weren't in the movie. That they cut out of the movie, that were in the book that they cut out of the movie. And so there's actually a whole bunch of other things that happens while he's on that trip, but they they cut it out for length, because if they turned the book again into the movie, it would be a much, much longer movie. And if they kept all the factual jibber jabber on it, it'd be much, much, much more boring movie too.
Yeah, so that's what from what you've told me about the book, about how it's very it's all inner monologue. They replaced the inner monologue, it sounds like, from the book with his, like, you know, those his diaries, the Mark Watson diaries, basically. Better TV show,
right? Exactly. And I feel like, because I read the book several times over. The second time I caught some things I didn't catch before, but the third and fourth time I was thinking, okay, if I was to cut this movie, because I know there's a whole bunch of talking in it, how would I go about doing that? And I never came up with a really good solution. But where they cut, most of the time I was very glad they cut. I mean, you know, there was another obstacle that I would have liked to see, but that would have added to tension. But it would have taken up easily, 15 minutes at least. If it was just, and that's just glossing over that thing. I'm not going to spoil it, because I highly recommend you read the book. I highly recommend you read the book.
I'm interested.
I actually am kind of interested to read the book.
After seeing this movie, oh yeah.
But I guess my only problem is the parts I missed, because I don't like missing movies. It can it can give me sore. I can be like, I missed part of the movie. I mean, I can still get into the movie. It's just, it takes a while.
Right.
I mean, though it's not as bad as, like, if someone, like, disrupts the movie, like someone and that kind of ruins my moment. Like, I'll be like, I've been into movies where I've been into it, and then someone will go blah blah blah, hey man, or something, or do something. It just gets me, and then the rest of them, like, you're part of it'll take me a while to get back into it. Like, I'm not gonna tell any stories now, but, like, just some stuff that's like, oh man, you ruined the movie for me, thanks.
So like I said, for the most part, I realized that I should actually start watching the movies first and then reading the book, because then otherwise you're picking apart the movie due to the book. And so like I said, when movies, the books don't usually matter. I just figured, because that is an adequate point, that it does jump easily like 50 plus days during that trip. And I just want to say that that's because there's a whole nother thing that happens in the book that would have added another 15, 30 minutes to the movie, and I'm glad that they took it out, because of all of the actually there's 2 catastrophes that he came across during that trip, and they skipped both of them, and I'm glad they did, because that would have made the runtime longer. So, and they were the least catastrophic. So,
but I guess we should, since we kind of have another movie, maybe we should get to grading soon.
We still got time.
It's really hard to point out a problem I had with this movie. I can't remember.
Maybe
sitting in the
my problem I had was not enough chest stained with it. I don't know. No chest stained.
Sitting in a seat, there wasn't a lot of moments where.
Oh yeah,
I can't really think of any.
I did not know Michael Pena was in this movie. I mean, I barely knew Sebastian Stan was in this movie. It wasn't until, like, my brother was like, well, at least Sebastian Stan's in it, or something like that. I'm like, what? When did that happen? Come on.
This is like this is also the third film in 2 months for Kate Mara.
I will say this, that, like, right before when the head of director of NASA goes, until something goes wrong, and then it just cuts to something going wrong.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, I knew something wrong was going to happen, of course.
Right.
Like, you can't account for everything. But that particular moment, it's like, it's almost as if, the whole knock on wood thing. Yeah.
Right.
That's like, oh.
I never, like, the parts that I thought were going to bug me, though, were the parts when they kept going back to Earth, because, like, I was like, man, I really want to see how Mark Watney survives, but then when they did go back to Earth, I'm like, I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of interested in both. I don't have any problem.
Yeah, I was worried, because there was some character development when they went back to Earth, like I said, in the book. I'm gonna keep referring to the book, but
of course.
There's
I get that.
more character development, that has to be cut. And so I was worried that some of the characters wouldn't be as developed as they were in the book. And, you know, I'm not too disappointed about the characters. There's some very good quotes from the book that I wish made it in, but I know like I said, I can't come up with any, you know, problems I had with the movie that in the long term matter.
I will also say this, the movie isn't very predictable. It is one of those movies like Gravity and Castaway where while you're watching it, a happy ending isn't necessarily guaranteed.
Well, I kind of predicted how Castaway was going to end, but that's... I'm
so glad I saw the movie Castaway before the trailer, because the trailer for Castaway ruins it.
Yeah, well, I didn't see the trailer, though. I knew, even like when no one told me anything, I kind of knew where it was going. But I'm not saying it's a bad movie because of that. I'm just saying.
It reminds me, there was a good, compare, you know, how to summarize The Martian. I forget where I heard it, but it was Castaways plus Apollo 13.
Kinda,
yeah.
Well, was he always an astronaut, or was he just because he said he was a botanist? Was he just a botanist who decided to sort of, because Gravity, because I think what makes this a little better, because I think that this does have a bit better of a story than Gravity did. Not saying Gravity's bad or anything. Because I like the director. I thought Gravity was great. It's just that, but I felt this one had a more interesting story than Gravity did, and it was more realistic, I guess, because like she was. I don't know.
Do you think we should get to grading this sucker?
Yeah.
He was a botanist and a mechanical engineer. So that was his role that he played on the ship.
Yeah. You kind of need all those things to make his survival story possible.
If there was any,
because if I was up there, I would probably last like a couple days and be like, well,
of course.
If there was anyone to be stranded on Mars, a mechanical botan engineer would be the person who would be on, who you would want to be stranded on Mars.
So.
Ratings?
I think I'll start this.
I
think I'll start this one.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give this a solid A.
All right.
Like definitely, I'm going to put this on my Amazon wish list.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy it and put it right on the shelf of glory. Yeah. That's what I call it.
I'm right there with you. Solid A.
Except for that one part, the knock on wood part. You think the writer is just mocking him?
What scene? What scene? I forgot what you mentioned.
You know where he goes, "Oh, until something goes wrong," and then it cuts right to that.
Right. Oh, I didn't think it was that.
It wasn't. Yeah.
That bugged me, but yeah, solid A.
A.
That's how we should have started.
Yes, we should have started it that way.
Okay, well, we got a double A. I didn't get
Triple A.
I didn't get
Triple A.
Triple A.
Excuse me. Why did I say that? Triple A. I know that. I know. Yeah, Triple A.
I can count.
So I guess I didn't get sucked into this movie as much as I did with Gravity or Interstellar, but I guess I'll give it a B positive. You know, Triple A. So I guess a B positive if I go with so B plus, that is.
All right. Yeah.
All right,
solid, good ratings all around.
I missed the trailer,
this is
so
definitely
I can't
worth
say
watching.
anything.
We got one new trailer, The Forest, and you did see The Forest trailer, right?
Oh.
The movie kind of looks like what some people were expecting The Village to be when it first came out.
I never saw The Village, so.
Although I don't get what's up with the premise. The Forest is a place where people just go to commit suicide. I don't. Well, it'll probably be explained in the movie whether it's adequate or not.
It kind of makes me want to research this.
Yeah.
Like if it's a real place.
For a second there, they're like, I kind of want to go there.
No!
So The Forest is January 8th. Yeah. We've actually got a lot of great looking stuff coming out in January. Maybe it's a joke Hollywood is pulling. Bringing out decent stuff in January.
Because they're tricking you. It's like, we are releasing bad stuff. Then when you're like, I've given up on January. Oops, you missed some good stuff.
I'm predicting this January is going to be better than last August, 2 months ago. All right, so shall we go take a walk?
Downtown, sis.
Let's do this.
Across the Twin Towers?
Yeah,
or maybe across the two short towers that were just built. We got one big one now. We got a couple. Are they even finished yet?
I'm actually glad they're rebuilding that. Let's end this. I'm hungry.
Let's go.
I'm